Hi there, welcome to Victim to Victor, the podcast dedicated to empowering abuse survivors and inspiring healing, hope, and positive change. I'm Verma, a published author, and in every episode, I'll sit down with a guest and embark on an insightful conversation about trauma, as well as practical strategies to start the healing process. So let's get started. I hope you enjoy the show. And here is Dr. Heather Tucker, all the way from Virginia. How are you, Heather?
I'm doing well. So happy to be here with you today. How are you, Anu?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you. In fact, I should be saying aloha, Miss Hawaii. You've just come back from Hawaii. Tell us about it.
I did. It was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Sometimes we don't realize how uh normalized or busy or overwhelmed we can be until we take that time to get away. So it was really perfect for me to be able to recharge, rejuvenate, so therefore I could come back and connect. And it's beautiful because it allows me to be even stronger in my business and in all areas of life with my family, more present. So yeah, it was totally well worth it.
Wow, it is. And a lot of us, we do, I suppose a lot of us don't have 2 weeks to spend on our own because, we've got like families, like in my case, I've got a young boy to look after. So I wouldn't get that privilege, but I totally understand just having that time away, just time to yourself. It's like medicine. We need it.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because a lot of times, especially as moms, we can feel guilty, right? I got an 8-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, and it's like, oh my gosh, to be gone for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks from them.
Wow,
and it was like, you know what? I'm doing this for them. I know that mommy will come back even more rejuvenated, more recharged, to be able to better give them love. And so I went guilt-free for sure.
I love that attitude. So obviously you've got a good support network. Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, look, y'all figure it out. And they did it. I mean, they did so well.
Oh, that is amazing. And it's so worth it because look at you now. I can feel your energy from here. Wow. So tell us about yourself. Please, if you could kind of go more into about, your business, another level living, and also kind of what led you to that.
Okay, cool. So I'm Dr. Heather Tucker. I am I own a professional training and coaching company. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Another Level Living. And it really is about living at another level. We're not really called to be stressed out, overwhelmed, depleted. We're actually called to work smarter, not harder, create time, money, and emotional freedom. And that's what my training does. It's about taking the pressure off, not adding to it. We can get so caught up in the doing that we forget to really be. And it's from our being from which everything flows. And so I work with entrepreneurs who want to achieve success in business and life harmony, because it really is two sides of the same coin. We never want to get so busy making a living that we forget to make a life. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we end up working more in our business even than we did maybe in our previous careers. And why is that? Some of the stuff similar to what you talk about, especially for those who have gone through trauma, for those who have gone through great challenges, we can feel like we're not good enough or we're not doing enough. And the reality is our value comes from who we are, not as much necessarily as what we do. So I support them in creating a healed heart and a renewed mind so it can work on one accord. And then we literally become unstoppable. It's like life harmony is so good that our business becomes a breeze. And how is that even possible? Like, where did this even come from?
Yeah.
So I grew up in the country of Virginia, and there wasn't really a lot of resources here. I experienced, like, if you would have asked me maybe 7 years ago or maybe 8 years ago, like, how was your childhood? I would have been like, oh, it was great. Then, of course, going on this journey of professional development, I realized, oh my gosh, there were some really significant emotional events that happened in my childhood that actually caused chaos in my entire life. And so one of the ones that I like to share, my first experience with entrepreneurship, my grandfather, my family, they actually are uh, really big in entrepreneurship. One of the things that my parents told me was the one thing no one could ever take away from you is what you know. So learn as much as you can. And that was one of the reasons why I put so much emphasis in education. Well, my grandfather, he had his own business. He was actually one of the richest Black men in the area before he passed away. He sold tires. Milton Ames, Let's Talk Tires. He sold tires. He sold coal. And he was murdered when I was 5. And it was interesting because his murder was never resolved. It seemed like he was just another dead Black man. And it was sad because, trauma comes in different ways. About a year before, I had actually experienced sexual abuse from a family member. And I didn't even know about the impact of that until I actually full circle came home during this time of growing my company. And what I did, though, is one of the things my mom would tell me, especially because there was so much trauma in our family generationally with slavery and stuff like that. She would say, put your feelings in your pocket and keep going. Well, you can only do that for so long, right? Because eventually your emotions are going to come up and they'll slap you in the face or they'll go off on people. And so I grew up and I was like, oh my gosh, I discovered technology. I discovered computers. And computers are like it's almost like my computer became my emotional support. It was like the one thing that no one could ever take. It was always there for me, never hurt me, right?
And I feel that.
Fascinated with them. And I realized that when I was I was a little bit of an overachiever. I graduated with my bachelor's at 20. I graduated with my master's at 23 and my PhD at 24.
Oh my God.
And I got my dream job working for the Army at 27. And, we get so busy thinking about okay, getting this achievement or this goal is going to bring happiness. It's going to bring joy. But even though the world saw success, I felt inside depressed, misery. There was so much working that life was just horrible. And it's easy to focus on the things that you can control and ignore the things that are not in control. So I wanted at that time work-life balance. And I went on the journey to figure out, okay, well, why is my mind so crazy? How can I be able to heal some of these heart wounds? How can I go from feeling conflicted, part of me wants to do this, part of me wants to do that? I knew that I wanted to help people. And I was like, well, you know what? In order to be the best support system for other people, I also need to make sure how I can help myself. So I went on a journey. Of professional and personal growth and development. And now I teach those same classes. I teach people about emotional intelligence and how to reclaim the power of their mind and how to create that, heal the past, to live more in the present and have a bigger vision for the future. Because each of us have the ability to be millionaires. Each of us have the ability to receive all the amazing things that we're called to have. And sometimes we can block our own success, even unconsciously, without even knowing it. And I am tired of seeing so many of my colleagues and friends and entrepreneurs struggle. I'm like, you know what? Let's take the pressure off. Let's be able to create that peace on all sides. So therefore, you can really enjoy your purpose and your passion and your prosperity with ease. So that's a little bit about me and what led me to this amazing journey. And it really is just the beginning. I will share too, the reason why I talk about aloha is because it's so much than the word love or hello and goodbye that people think. It means unity. It means being truthfulness, being authentic, being able to have patient perseverance on the path. A lot of us sometimes can feel so impatient, we want this now.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't happen now, then we're like, what's going on. And the
Wow.
reality is timing is always perfect. And so
Yeah.
when people can just change the way that they look at things, the things that they look at change.
Yeah, it's true. Wow. So, like, just as you were talking then, I was just thinking so much beyond that. And like, one of the questions that I have really is just regarding, your business that you have today now. So do you find that with all the entrepreneurs that you're working with, are all of those people who have undergone trauma themselves?
Yeah. What's
Okay.
interesting is that um, I talk about bring your baggage, bring your heaviness, bring all of the difficulties. So therefore we can identify them, lean into them, let them go. And so therefore we can really leap forward. And it's interesting. Yeah, I tend to attract a lot of entrepreneurs who've gone through traumas, who've gone through difficulties, even just like the losses of loved ones can be a significant emotional event that can create paralysis and moving forward and feeling stuck. So, whereas a lot of times people were like, oh my gosh, emotions are too difficult to deal with. I'm like, yes, let's celebrate the stuff that comes up, because then that gives us the ability to break free from what we need to
Mm.
and be that light and let people know, you know what, you don't have to have a great past to have a great future. You can
Yeah.
recreate and restore yourself each and every day.
Wow. So let's talk about these blocks then. So what is it? I mean, you said that everyone has the ability to obviously be millionaires, and I've always believed that, we've all got infinite potential, but we're not even using like a fraction of it, are we? Because we're just so stuck in our heads. We just got all these like limiting beliefs holding us back. So what is going on here? Like, how can people start to live more abundantly?
You know, a lot of it has to do with the mindset and our beliefs, even in ourselves. Like a lot of times we might be able to see part of the picture, but it's really important to learn all about who you are. Because no matter who you think you are, there's so much more than that. And whenever we go through life, I sometimes would say the people that have the bigger battles actually are called for have the biggest callings and sometimes go through the biggest crap to get there.
Yeah, yeah, it
Right.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and in terms of like where to even begin,
Mm.
I want to share with you this acronym for the word love, that it really helped me be able to step into owning my greatness and owning my uniqueness. And I think that it's also going to help your listeners and you as well, if you receive it,
Thank
because
you.
it
Yeah.
really is about um, understanding that sometimes the things that we go through, even though they suck in the moment, they really, really
Mm.
may suck in the moment, there's actually a bigger picture for them. Not necessarily as much for ourselves, but for those maybe that we're called to be a service to, if that makes sense. So the first acronym is, the first letter is L, and it stands for let go and let flow, because a lot of times we hold on to the outcome so tight. And when we've gone through trauma, our mind becomes very overreactive,
Yeah.
overthinking. A lot of this is also what can create imposter syndrome, this conflict of how the world sees us versus how we feel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And in that process of letting go and letting flow is releasing control. There's so much freedom in that, because then you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this all on my own. Like a lot of times we can feel like we're in it by ourselves. No one understands how I feel. I'm not supported or feel unappreciative, all of these different things. But we can be in this place of less trusting and more thinking, more trusting and less thinking.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then giving ourselves permission to take that pressure off, like I said.
Mm.
When we're in the flow, like that part about where we can have so many negative emotions inside, like our significant emotional events, they bring up stuff for us. They can bring up anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And oftentimes it's easy for us to stuff down or suppress
Mm.
those emotions, and they don't really go anywhere. They can actually lead to our ill health. They can actually lead to us lashing out on those that we love the most. right?
Yeah.
All of these different things. And then we overreact. We see ourselves overreacting. We can't stop it. But then afterwards, the damage is already done. Right.
Exactly.
So being in that place of releasing the control and being in the flow and knowing that everything that's happening is happening for you as compared to against you, that's what starts to create a little bit of the freedom and starts to maybe like loosen up some of the boundaries that we may have on ourselves. The second part of that is the O. And it stands for open your heart to receive. See, a lot of times we have this heart of giving, or we're used to giving. We're actually sometimes catered to giving so much so that we prevent ourselves from receiving. And it's like air. We breathe in, we breathe out. You know, it's a cyclic process. And that part about like feeling like we're not good enough, or who are we to do this, or all the common limiting beliefs that we have prevent us from actually receiving our prosperity, or even the stuff that we've gone through, like heart wounds. So with trauma, especially those who might be listening, you know, with trauma, we can sometimes attract more trauma, especially in relationships.
We do. Yep.
Right. Like, so chaos attracts chaos. We don't attract what we want as much as we attract what we are. And it's funny because, you know, I used to get into blaming, oh, this person did this to me. This person did that to me. Like, how could they? And I was such the victim. But when I reclaim power and victory is reclaim power of my own life and stepped into the victor, recognizing that, oh my gosh, well, these are the common things. These are the common patterns in relationships. Okay, what's the common denominator? It's me. So if I change me, it actually changes everything around me.
Perspective.
You know, I want to share with you like my why I was great as career and making money. That was never really an issue until I became an entrepreneur, and it's like, oh crap, it's all on me.
It's like, okay,
we're very, very chaotic. And I would attract people, obviously, who had trauma. My husband, he's a Purple Heart Marine Corps veteran. He did 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and came back with post-traumatic stress. And I had already gone through several traumatic relationships when we first got together. But not only did he have trauma in the military, he also had trauma growing up as well. And it's almost like, what do you do when you have these 2 traumatic people coming together? And it's all these emotional booms and booms. 5% success rate we had. And we're doing so well. And the reason why is because of practicing what I teach, understanding that, you know, you can communicate beyond what is said, looking at the energy, looking at the emotions, being a safe place for myself as well as my family. It brings us all together. It's almost like going against the odds and winning, if that makes sense. And it leads to V. So V stands for victory is already yours.
Love it.
If you were given a calling, if you were giving, so a lot of times in the victim mentality, we can push away our blessings, right? We can, the things that we can just so push them away easily. But when you change to a victorious mindset and know, you know what? Victory is already mine. If I was called to do this business, it's going to be successful. If I was called to be in this relationship, in this family, then it's going to be successful. And having the faith in that, because it's so easy. It's so, like I said, it's so easy for us to self-sabotage and self-destruct.
We do. Yeah.
And the goal is to change that.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It is. And like you said, it's just changing your mindset from that victim to victor mentality.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because our mind, so this is the hilarious part, right? Our mind is like the central processing, talking about computers. Yeah, it's like CPU. The central processing unit for our whole body.
Yeah.
For our whole body. Yeah. And when we change our mindset, or we create a more empowering mindset for ourselves, it just radiates down into our body, into our physical environment, into our world. And it's so much different, because like if you think about like three vessels, right? So typically there's people that can get blown away by something that's happening and they're drifting off the sea in the raft and there's no control of where it's going. Or something can happen and then we're in this like superpower mode, like we have to hurry and get things done. And we become like the speedboat and we end up running out of gas in the middle of the ocean. And the goal is to be like the sailboat where, there's this control, there's this like navigation, there's the flow, there's the trusting and working with the wind as compared to working against it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's in everything.
It is. Yeah. I love that about, you have to be in flow, because again, I just feel like we just have so many blockages. And a lot of it starts from as soon as we wake up, right? I mean, so we'll go on to your rituals, but what's the E? Sorry, we need to finish with the E.
Yes. Okay, so the E is recognizing that everyone has a lion or a lioness inside.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Everyone has that inside. It can be this loud voice that's screaming, here's your calling. Or it could be this soft voice saying, you're supposed to do something else. Or there's something, the goal is to be able to hear this voice for you and also honor that in other people. Okay. In this world, it just seems like there's such a need or a quick desire, especially those who've gone through trauma, to discard, to run away.
We do. Yeah, we do.
And a lot of times we can run away from the very things that, like I mentioned before, that we're supposed to be a blessing to, or supposed to be a blessing to us. So what gets in the way? That part that you had asked earlier is fear. Yeah, and fear can mean many different things. For people who've gone through trauma, typically it means forget everything and run. Yeah. Right. Yeah. People have probably heard false evidence appearing real. Okay. And the trick is to be able to switch it to facing everything and rising. Yeah. So that eventually you can feel everything and relax.
Yeah. That's how it is. It is, because we, like, the trauma mind is the fight or flight response. So yeah, absolutely. I spent it all my life just running away. Whereas really what I needed to do was to just stay put and to just feel it and to grow with it. And that's what creates real adversity and real resilience.
So true. And it's what's needed, especially because our businesses are an extension of us. And for people who are listening who aren't even like in entrepreneurship, that's maybe one thing to think about, because a lot of times we get overrun, especially those who've gone through trauma, in working with other people. We can become traumatized in our work environment. Yeah. We can feel like a victim in our work environment. And, we're not called to have that stress. There's a reason to learn something from it. But the biggest thing is, how can we reclaim the power of our own energy and our own life? And by reclaiming the power of the mind and the heart, it'll allow you to naturally figure out what's the best way for you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So with fear, is there something for the EAR?
Uh-huh.
It's like me and my acronyms.
I love acronyms. They're just so easy to remember.
Yeah, because I remember when I was revising for my exams, acronyms saved me, just by having acronyms, I was able to remember everything.
So true.
Oh, fantastic. Oh no, but thank you. That'd be amazing. So what I can do is also I can write down the acronyms in the description box for my listeners as well, just to remind them.
Nice.
I think it's so important. Absolutely. So tell us about, look, for me, it's all about, having our ways to obviously, make sure that our mind is fed and nurtured and looked after. What do you do on a daily basis, or what's your ritual to make sure that your mindset is healthy?
Nice. I'm so glad you asked that. There's so many things to be able to do. One is like prayer and meditation, so crucial. Taking that time to, somebody said one time, and I don't know necessarily how full true this is, but I really liked it. That prayer is like asking for God for something, or, just putting something out there that's concerning you. But meditation is actually listening for the answer. There's so much of natural wisdom in your own body. And when you take that time to quiet the mind, be still, it's just so, then you can be able to have more capacity to do more and just to be more. I also limit what I take in. Right now there's so much stuff going on in the world with the news, and just, this pandemic has really put people in like a mental and emotional just tailspin. And there's a decision that you make in this. Do you want to be taken away? What type of vessel do you want to be? Do you want to be taken away by what's going on, or do you want to be a part of the solution? And a lot of times our focus can be so much on what's going wrong, and it's so important to be able to figure out, okay, what's going right, and not worrying or having so much anxiety about what's to come days later. Just being in the present moment, focusing on what you can do today. Some people live so much in the past. I know I did for so long, right? And that just creates a lot of resentment, anger, anxiety, stress. Or some people can live so far in the future, worried about what's not even here. But that power of being in the present moment is our biggest gift, is being present. That's the best thing you could even be present with the people that are around you. The best gift you could give them. Also, no, like the other thing is not going to battle alone. Having support. Like, I can't tell you how many times after I'm talking with students and entrepreneurs and just collaborating with other people, I hear these same common themes, and they feel like they're in it by themselves. No one understands how they feel. And it's just the biggest lie. It's the biggest lie, because I think it's, how can I say this? It's the biggest lie because it's just not true. When you get into an environment or a community, a like-minded community, or may have gone through the same struggles, you start to realize that you're not alone, and not to go the battle alone. Make sure you have support. I love that I have support in the heavens above, here on earth. Put your team together, knowing that, you know what, you can be able to create your support system around you, regardless of what's going on. And that's something that's just so crucial, and so needed, especially now. Who can you vent to in a safe and confidential environment? Who can be able to, just listen, and so you feel like you're heard? Who can be able to give you some good guidance and advice? And not a lot of times that's family. So a lot of times we'll go and try to talk to family. We love them, but and they might not be the best people to talk to.
No, and I also realize that a lot of people, they don't want to hear anyone's negativity, anyone's problems, probably because they've got so much going on themselves, or they just don't know how to handle it or deal with it. So I feel like you have to be really selective with who you choose as well.
It's so true. It's so true. The message that came to me before our call today was seek wise counsel. Seek wise counsel. Excellent. Because, if seeking someone whose mind is already cluttered, how deep are they listening? Seeking someone who has their own agenda, how deep are they listening and have your best interest at heart? Exactly. It's about being able to see the total person, authentic, that can be able to allow you to connect into your own authenticity. Not all support is good support. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. It really makes sense. And what I found in my case was that I had to actually pay for the kind of support that I needed, professional support. And for me, again, that was just a godsend, because it transformed my whole life. But you're right. I feel like a lot of people have their own agendas, and unfortunate to say, some people, they probably enjoy hearing people's traumas and people's problems that they have in their lives. It's quite sad when you think about that.
It is. One
Mm.
of the questions, this was actually one of the reasons that led me to where the latest book collaboration we're doing is on the power of coaching and talking about, coaching is an awesome modality. And I interviewed several coaches. And one of the questions I asked them was, if someone was fearful of coaching, what would you tell them? Because a lot of times we think that we can just solve the problem on our own, but we don't realize that actually our problems could be resolved so much faster when we have somebody that we're working with. And that being said, it's almost like it was so interesting because sometimes people are like, we're fearful of this. We're not sure of which way to go. But what is the cost of things staying the same? We can, and you are your biggest investment. A lot of times we'll invest in everyone else and everything else, but ourselves. And anytime we invest in ourselves, it always comes so full circle. I tell coaches, I've certified about 400 coaches to date now, all different kinds, all different modalities. And I tell them, in order to be an amazing and successful coach, it's important for you to be coached, for you to be able to have a support system. How can you be a stable support system for someone else if there's any conflicts going on? We can be the work in progress and the masterpiece at the same time. But support is almost like a requirement in this field, in this day and age,
Absolutely.
And was it, imagine, or I guess, how would it have been? How would life be different if you didn't have that support? If you didn't invest in yourself?
Yeah, we said it before this call. I actually believe that I would have gone down a totally different path. Just thinking that there was nobody who I could trust. Everyone was against me. The world was awful. Oh, yeah, I just feel like my whole belief system would be different to how it is today.
Yeah. Like I felt like I was two different people. See, I didn't know about the trauma and how bad it impacted me. I didn't even really know about the sexual abuse until like 5 or 6 years ago. It's like all of a sudden it just opened up and I'm like, what the heck? Oh, this is where it's created. But it was like two different people in me. If any of you feel like you're two different people, like successful career woman by day, right? Party girl by night, right? Exactly. Like that's just so conflicted. And the goal is to bring it back together. Like, oh, let me honor both sides. Because if we run away from the darkness that we have, instead of actually leaning into it, figuring out where it comes from, I mean, we can spiral down and to be somebody totally different. I'll share with you that Oprah Winfrey had these two twins on her show, and they both were molested by their father when they were growing up. One of them turned out to be this like super corporate executive, like hardcore work woman, right? And this other one turned out to be a prostitute addicted to drugs, sex, and alcohol. And when she asked them the question, what made you turn out this way? They both said the same answer. Given what I had gone through, how could I have turned out any different? So what was the difference? The mindset, what they told themselves, what they decided about themselves and their value. No matter who or what other people say about us, what do we say about ourselves? And the biggest trick that I've learned that I think it will be so valuable to your listeners is this. When you ignore other people's voices, you listen to God's voice and you listen to your voice above anybody else's, then you'll always be able to go right. And then releasing what other people had said about you, what other limitations people put on you. Like it wasn't coming from, how can I say this? It was being filtered through their own mindset. Like a lot of times I hear, oh my gosh, I'm not supported by my family. They don't believe in what I'm doing. And I tell them, so freaking what? They weren't given the vision. You were, right?
So true.
And it's like, so own that. And it's almost like breaking free from the distractions and staying focused and staying clear.
Yeah. So true. So true. So like, coaching, obviously I feel that coaching can really transform human beings because of the accountability that you have with a coach. And, obviously social media is saturated with, a lot of coaches, promising certain things. So from a professional point of view, so what kind of advice would you give to my listeners if they are thinking about hiring a coach?
So what I would say, if you're thinking about hiring a coach, look at their credentials, their track record, make sure that they're certified, because anyone can read a book and call themselves a life coach. Look at their testimonials and see how they transferred other people. How much are they also working on themselves? One of the reasons why I started my Aloha Mastermind is a family for coaches and practitioners. And my motto is no coach left behind, because I would see coaches go and take these trainings and they come back and they're all excited and ready. And then I follow up with them a couple of months later and they haven't implemented anything in their business. Well, so much stuff got in the way. But one of the biggest things that gets in the way is the life stuff and those feelings of I'm not good enough. I'm not sure if I can do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to make sure that whoever your coach is that you're looking at, make sure that they have a coach, that they have some kind of support system in place also for them, and that they're actually credentialed and licensed to do so. And ask for testimonials, ask for reviews. Not any coach all coaches are different. There is no cookie cutter approach to coaching. There is no coach that is exactly the same. Each one has their own knowledge, skills, and abilities and their own uniqueness. It's almost like their companies, they created this masterpiece, and the tools that work for them, they share with their clients. So I would say that that's the biggest piece. And there's all different kind of coaches. There's all different kind of price points. And you know what? You can be able to find a coach that's going to work right for you.
Right. Okay. That's fantastic advice. Thank you. Yeah, I feel that will really help to reassure the world, because again, I feel it's such a massive market out there. I mean, it is like a multi-billion-dollar industry now, right? Coaching.
Yeah.
It's huge, isn't it?
And the biggest, it's huge. And so many people are monetizing on it. And I like to look at, where is their authenticity? How real are they with their story? Are they selling you the whole cookie cutter glamour things, and they're not really focusing on, okay, let's be able to, deep level transformations. The ones who are really good in this work on themselves as well.
Really? Yeah. Oh my goodness. You just couldn't. It's a bit like, therapy. Every therapist needs a supervisor. So it's the same with coaches. You just can't coach without having your own coach, or a couple. I know, a lot of coaches have 2 or 3 coaches, don't they, for different parts of the business.
Yep. Yeah. I know I do. I got multiple coaches. I'm totally supported.
Oh, fantastic.
They each have their own uniqueness.
Yeah.
And together it's like, it's just beautiful that way. Yeah. Because you know what, we do want to feel supported. There's one that has a strength in one thing, there's another that has a strength in another, and how to be able to figure out where that wisdom comes from. I'll tell you that I certified about, out of those 400, maybe like 30 therapists, and several of them, several of them were like, they said, oh my gosh, I can help people have transformation in a period of just a couple of months as compared to years of therapy, or some people left the therapy route altogether and then they went into coaching. Some of them figured out how to blend it. Big difference with people. So a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going through something, I need a therapist. The big difference, and there's a place for both of them, but if there's a lot of stuff in the past, like deep, heavy stuff, therapy before coaching is awesome. If there's stuff, that place where you want to be able to get too in the future, coaching is really good for that. The best coaches know how to help people with the past, present, and future and help them be able to continue to move forward.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So, I mean, we are coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much so far. You've been absolutely amazing. So how can my listeners find you?
So I would say best way to find us is go to our website, www.anotherlevelliving.com, and also get connected with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I also have a free gift for you all. So I did a free training on how to use your story to attract more clients. Your hero's journey is the connection. And if you go to www.anotherlevelliving.com/story impact gift, then you'll be able to opt in for that. There's a power in our story. If those of you who have gone through great things and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm called to be able to share this, I just don't necessarily know how. This is a really great training. And one of the things I talk about is, understanding our story, where we come from, and then giving yourself permission to rewrite your story. See, because our story can be our prisoner. Yeah. It can be our prisoner, or it can set us free. Yeah. And sometimes when we get so caught up in it and we just live that story and we replay it all over in our mind, it makes us in a prison. But it can get to the point where, there is no chaos. There is no trauma. There can be total freedom. And you can share that story from a place of empowerment. What do you do when some of the stories are too difficult to share? Well, you hear them, you make them light, and you share them anyway, because the message is not just for you, but for all the people that you're called to be of service to.
For sure. And so you're talking about stories, and I know that you've got a lot of books that you've written yourself. So which books would you recommend for my listeners?
So I had done the Power of Coaching one that's coming out. Be on the lookout for that one, definitely. Okay. I mean, there's some really great stuff in there talking about if you've gone through stuff and you want some support, how coaching can help you, what is it all about. If you are fearful of coaching or you feel like you're called to become a coach, it's all covered in that book. Okay. There's also tips and stuff like that. I really think that is the biggest one that that is making a difference. This other one here, if you're a caregiver, the Voice of Hope, inspiring untold stories for caregivers by caregivers. There was a motivation to do that book as a result of caring for my husband, being a spouse and a caregiver. But it's interesting because there was people caring for their children with special needs, people caring for their elderly parents, and people also caring for their spouses. And sometimes caregiving we can see as a burden, but in this book, it'll give you inspiration for hope and seeing it as a blessing.
Wow. So, it is. Yeah. Contribution. I really believe in that, the fact that you're there caring for somebody who's vulnerable and in need, then the universe repays you, right? In other ways.
Exactly. And caregiving can be such a very lonely journey too. And again, it's that part about, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. I know caregiving and business building are like the two most like burnout energy stressors. And if you're doing both, holy smokes, it just amplifies. So that's where the trick is to reclaim your power, reclaim your energy so you can be able to do both with aloha.
Aloha. Because you mentioned caregiving, parenting's caregiving.
It is
a burden, it's exhausting. It's like a full-time job.
It is. It's so true. And there's so much on parenting right now. When all the kids were at home, right? Business and life collided. And we're like, what in the world are we gonna do?
What's going on? Yeah.
Kids, put them in front of the TV.
It's technology. Thank you, technology, for that reason, CPU.
Exactly. Wow. And so, there's a harmony there, and it's so needed. And, I guess the last thing I would probably share is that give yourself permission to celebrate you and congratulate yourself on how far you've come. Because you know what? Like sometimes people, if they knew your story, right? If they knew all that you've gone for, they could probably be like, oh my gosh, how are you surviving? Well, it created resilience. It created courage. It created power. It created an energy, and own that and know that, you did the best that you could with the resources that you have. And there's always a way to do better. And there's, most importantly, it's the need to be, and give yourself permission to just be.
Live abundantly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Oh, wow. What a fantastic closing note. Thank you so much again. It's been an absolute honor having you on and just sharing your journey, and also just all these amazing tips for my listeners, which I'm inspired. And yeah, I can't wait to obviously put those acronyms into practice as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that being here.
Oh, I've got let it flow in my head.
Let it flow.
That's going to be my mantra now. Let it flow.
Yes, let it flow. Let go and let flow.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Last thing. Okay, promise.
Oh, no, it's fine.
So trust and allow, and let go of the how, so that you can enjoy the wow now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's so much easier to live like that. I mean, I feel like my mind is like 20 years younger than it is.
I feel
because
like that
of
too.
Living that way.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've got a young soul. And on that note, my friends, yeah, we're going to have to call it a day. So I hope you enjoyed today with Dr. Heather Tucker, and please do get in touch with her if you have any questions, and sign up for her freebie. God, we all love freebies, don't we? Especially when it's to do with nurturing yourself and working on your personal development, which is what the whole world needs to be doing right now in this crazy world that we're living in. And I just find that so many people are waking up, and it's fantastic to see that too. So my friends, please do get in touch, and until the next show, stay blessed, stay loved, we love you, and just keep thriving.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Victim to Victor. Subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes, and be sure to follow the podcast on socials to keep updated on what's next, and share Victim to Victor with family and friends to help grow the community and spread the positive healing energy. You may also wish to join me on the path to self-discovery and sign up to my 12-week self-empowerment plan, which will be linked below.